And here we are. Welcome back to the Redshirt Sophomore, where we never sit out. We are your hosts, MD and CD. What is going on today? What do we have today? We have our annual. Yep, we say annual because this is the second time we're doing it, so that makes it annual. Fantasy football quarterback draft by conference. Yep, that's a little bit of word salad, but we do fantasy football a little bit differently around here. By the way, if you're here checking out the video for the first time, make sure you're liking. Make sure you're subscribing if you're new here. Okay, we got a lot of content coming up, a lot of content coming out. We got stuff for you guys. And the season's, less than 90 days from now. So you might as well buy in now. Strap up. We got conference previews coming out in about a month, well, a little bit over a month. And you guys want to be dialed in for that, right? But for right now, we're going to talk fantasy football. We don't do that a lot on this show. And we do it a little bit differently, and we'll explain in just a minute. But CD, how are we doing today?
Loving it, loving it. I cannot wait. This is such a fun episode to
Oh,
do. I hope you guys really enjoy it. It's literally just guys being dudes, just name dropping people. But in all honesty, no, we put a lot of work into this. I know Matthew's got every single quarterback in the country ranked and all that. It's fantastic. We obviously, and like Matthew said, we got a lot of stuff coming up. We got running backs and quarterbacks next as well. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss those when they're coming up as well.
yeah. So how do we do it here? All right. Because we want to talk about as many quarterbacks as we possibly can. All right. It's going to be 26 today. They're going to be taking. We're going to take one from every conference, and then we're going to take four wild cards as part of our draft. And the winner is declared the winner by having their top 10 quarterbacks score the most points. Right. So it's kind of like best ball in a sense, but just for quarterbacks. Right. And we do it for every position. So we do it a little bit differently, but it's a friendly competition between CD and I. I won last year. Kind of a landslide in the quarterback. Took a shot on Carson Beck. Wow. Bang. What are we talking about here? And I think I had Jaden Daniels. No, I didn't take Jaden. I took Carson Beck instead of Jaden Daniels. But anyways, that was on a much smaller scale. We only did the Power 5 conferences and a G5 player. This year, we got a lot of players. So I am pumped. So it's going to be snake draft. And because I won last year, I'm I like to be picking first here. So the order's going to go ACC, Big 10, Big 12, SEC, Sun Belt, Mountain West, American, CUSA, and then the four wild cards in a snake, right? So I picked first in the ACC. That means that CD is picking first for the Big 10 teams. So what do you like? Not that you should be giving away your strategy, right? But so we have 13 players, right? But we're only scoring for 10, right? That kind of encourages us to take shots on guys, right? I mean, are you gonna be name dropping someone that maybe you don't expect me to name drop, or maybe some people watching this?
Potentially, but there's also strategy in maybe I can hold off and get him in the wild card range and the wild card round. A lot of fun things you can do. That's what makes it so fun on our end, but also help on your end as well as you're drafting along with us, making sure, obviously, commenting, critiquing us, or congratulating whoever we think is going to be the winner. Uh, but yeah, I think you gotta hit your layups with some conferences. You just gotta hit them, but then also
Take
like man, don't
shots.
be afraid to take shots. Like, don't be afraid to take shots. You're gonna have injuries though, so you gotta you can't take 10 shots. It's gonna be uh gonna pick and choose your moments, and I'm excited to get my revenge this year.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Last thing that I was gonna say, make sure if you guys want to be part of a fantasy football league, we've been in the talks about maybe this thing happening. If you were interested in being part of it, please let us know in the comments of this video. If you're listening on Spotify, you can also send us an email at thredshirtsophomore@gmail.com or DM us on Twitter at the The email and Twitter are also important too because you can mailbag us some questions and that will potentially get answered on a future show. Our last episode just featured Jacob from Connecticut. He got an entire video featured on just this question. So, well, one, thank you, Jacob. Two, it could be you. That could be you guys next. So thank you guys so much for the support. We've been loving this. We are pumped. It is May 30th. Do you know, Christopher, that we started this on June 1st? So
I know.
I don't know if this
Be
is going
one
to post
year.
on June 1st, but it'll be officially 1 year. 86 episodes, like 700 videos posted on YouTube, tens of shorts. I mean, there's been a lot of content on here. 300 subscribers, over 60,000 views. It's been a ride. So we're going to keep it going. So thank you, everyone who's been a part of this journey. All right. Are you ready to get after this?
Yes, I am.
All right. Let's get it out of the way. ACC, it's the first conference. I'm picking Cam Ward. Okay. The thing is, we're gonna have to come back to this conference in the wild card. There are some very good quarterbacks in this conference. I think Cam Ward just stands out as the best because I think he is in the best situation. I think his line is really, really freaking good. I think his wide receivers are also pretty solid. He gets Xavier Restrepo back. Yeah, sure, you lose Colby Young, but Cam Ward is the best pure quarterback in this conference. But I also think he's potentially set up to have the best season as a fantasy quarterback. So let's just patiently wait and see what happens, I guess.
I think that's the right pick for you. I mean, that was my that would have been my pick. Obviously, I think he's a tier, in my opinion, ahead of everybody else in the ACC. You also look at you mentioned his surrounding cast as wide receivers. You bring in Sam Brown, who we love,
Yeah.
as well, and then their O line going to be pretty darn good. No surprise under Mara Cristobal, and they got some running back injuries. And yes, well, hopefully you're hoping that they're back come this fall, but a lot's going to be put on the right shoulder of Cam Ward, and I think he can absolutely handle it. And you saw the ungodly numbers he put up in certain times in certain games for Washington State, and with the talent that Miami has, yeah, I think that's absolutely reasonable to think he'll be the best ACC quarterback fantasy wise.
All right, you're up.
All right, give me Kyron Jones here. I mean, this one I went back
I
and
like
forth,
that.
and you mentioned a lot of different quarterbacks I could have taken. You could have gotten risky, but I think Kyron Jones. Um, I think he gives you the upside, but as well with that blanket of his rushing upside, right? So he gets some kind of safety net there. I think their schedule is pretty manageable. Virginia Polytech, Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, Virginia Tech. I think he's a little bit more consistent than Tommy Castellanos, who I thought about there. A little bit better schedule than a guy like Haynes King at Georgia Tech. Um, a lot of talent coming back. We've talked about Virginia Tech as a team that could be sneaky, sneaky good in the ACC with their schedule. And yeah, let's ride this train. He's a monster talent, full offseason of being the guy. Remember, there was a quarterback competition last year through the offseason. It's finally his team. The guys rally around him. We'll see what he can do in this offseason with his top three out receivers coming back.
Yeah, that's the right pick. And like, here's the thing. I wasn't necessarily debating it, but I do think Kyron Jones' schedule is better than Cam Ward's. And his dual threat upside is there. So yeah, we talked about Cam Ward being in his tier of his own, but like, dude, Kyron Jones, like, in terms of fantasy wise, like, could explode this year. It could be bonkers numbers. Like, he's set up in a very good position. I will sprinkle Virginia Tech probably to win the ACC. Like, that's just what it's going to be because the schedule's so favorable, right? When you look at some of these schedules, I mean, you saw with Oklahoma State last year, right? Like, just get a favorable schedule and let it work out, right? And in this case, in terms of fantasy, uh, I guess you can kind of apply the same stance to that as well.
Well, yeah, you look talk about this year. He had a really good year, and that was not even being a full year of being the guy. He had 800 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. It's a pretty good season for a running back. You throw on 2,000 more yards in the air, 17 touchdowns. I'm sorry, only 3 interceptions. I
Yep.
love that. No negative points, obviously, for my fantasy team. I mean, sack
Almost two,
yardage
dude.
hurts
He
you.
he's in the same like he was in the same fantasy tier as like Joe Milton and Quinn Ewers last year. Quinn Ewers missed 2 games. I get it, but I mean TJ Finley's in that tier. Drew Aller.
Love.
Yeah, I
TJ
mean like
Finley's gonna hear his name come later.
yeah, probably. So yeah, that's a good pick by you.
And so I guess I'm up for the Big Ten, this little snake draft here. I think again with similar to the ACC, I do think there's a tier, a one man tier in this conference. I'm gonna go Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon.
Hmm.
We've talked a lot about Oregon this offseason, much deservingly so. Dan Lanning's really humming, really kicking this thing into high gear. We talked about the O line. We talked about the quarterback room behind him, the depth that there is, but also that wide receiver room is just loaded. I encourage you to go after this video is done, go check out our wide receiver video on the Oregon Ducks. I mean, it is loaded. You got 5, 6 guys deep, different bodies, everything you want to do. Um, yeah, and Dylan Gabriel guy that can just sit back there and just pick his matchup and really exploit the defense.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. There's another guy that I like a lot too, but it's like Dylan Gabriel's starting, right? You know he's got insane weapons around him. That offense works, right? You've seen guys that are, not giant human beings, but like just accurate passers, like guys that can just move the football down the field, like have huge success in this offense. I mean, Bo Nix was number 2 for quarterback in fantasy last year with 413 fantasy points. That's nuts. Of course, only behind Jaden Daniels, who freaking won the Heisman. Like, dude, like that's absolutely the right pick. I had him as my number one as well. And then you get to me, right? And you have just an absolute cesspool of just tier two guys, right? And
That's real quick before you go. That's why I was scared. That's why I didn't want the Big Ten to. I was glad I got the one pick there. I feel like everyone has a question mark, right, in this tier two. And I'll
yep.
let you get to it. But Dylan Gabriel to me was the only one that was like no question marks, only green flags, high production, high upside. Yeah, give me that.
All right, here's what I'm gonna do. To me, this is kind of a shot. Uh, and to some people, this isn't a shot, but to me, this is a shot. I'm gonna go Will Howard here because there's still quarterback battle going on here at Ohio State. Like he hasn't won the job yet, right? But I believe in his legs. I believe in his arm talent. I believe in his size. And like if you put Will Howard, right, and I understand the Colin Klein system was also very good for him at Kansas State, but there's a different level of talent that is being put around Will Howard that we just haven't seen this level. Like he might go to new levels, right? And if Kyle McCord can have, now I know people are going to absolutely poop on Kyle McCord. I thought he was like okay, right? Like not for Ohio State quarterback standards. I think Will Howard is a huge upgrade over Kyle McCord, and I'm sure there are people out there that disagree, but that's my opinion. So I'm going to go with Will Howard here and just gamble on the upside, kind of, because I got a lot of picks to work with here. So I'm gonna go with that.
I think that's not a bad pick at all. I mean, I wrote down next to Will Howard, I wrote down too risky, and it
Yep.
does scare me a little bit, but it's also the upside is there. If he starts all 12 games, he's going to put up monster numbers. It's just the
Yes.
reality of being the Ohio State quarterback, not only through the air, but also on the ground as well, which definitely helps your
How
fantasy
about
numbers.
Will Howard? He missed a game, right? And it was like not really a two quarterback system, but it was. He was still like a top 25 quarterback in fantasy last year. He finished ahead of Carson Beck and DeQuan Finn and Austin Reed, Donovan Smith. I mean, like, dude, he put up numbies last year. Numbies.
And you want to talk
350,
about red zone
350
threat
yards,
too?
350 yards on the ground, 9 touchdowns.
Yep, that's the touchdown number is going to get you some nice things. I know you got two backfield, the two running backs in there, but Will
Who
Howard's going to get
cares?
his two through the ground. Don't worry.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so that leaves me with the Big 12 right now. And see, you have like your guys, right? You have to go get your guy. And here's why I'm not worried about picking this guy here at the one, right? Or the one first pick in the Big 12 round. It's because I can come back to the Big 12 in the wild card and like get a different guy. That's also very good. But I have to get my guy. His name's Garrett Green. I'm gonna take him one. Yes, and here's why. Christopher, I would like you to name the quarterback in the Big 12 that was first in fantasy points last year. All right, that's Dylan Gabriel. Okay. Now I want you to name
Mm.
the second.
Is it Garrett Green?
It's Garrett Green. He was 15th in the country in fantasy points last year. He was unbelievable.
13. You
Guys,
think 13 touchdowns on the ground is replicable?
uh, maybe not. Maybe not. But I think he'll do it more during the air. Dude, he has like another year of experience, dude. You know what is replicable? 770 yards on the ground is replicable for
Yeah.
sure. Maybe not 13 touchdowns, but if you're going to tell me that Garrett Green's upside is a top 15 quarterback here, I'll take it all day. Because like no Fafita, right? You lose. I mean, it's a different system that you're in right now,
Yeah.
right? You
Cowing
don't.
too.
There's some guys, Jalen Daniels injury history. KJ Jefferson in a new system with injury history. I mean, like there's a lot of other question marks there, and I feel like Garrett Green has the least amount of question marks for me, and I also think he has huge upside. I
Yeah.
know you're looking at me like, oh, like thank you for giving me my guy, but for me, I'm like, I can't pass up Garrett Green. I can't do it.
Listen, I don't hate it at all. I do think like That's wild. No, I love that. And I know you're a Garrett Green stan, and I know you'll continue to be that obviously this
Let's
year.
go.
I think that's crazy because here's why I'm surprised is because you could have gotten anybody else you wanted, and I was not thinking about Garrett Green.
I
In
know.
fact, he
That's why I
was not
said,
even in my top. He was not in my top six. Now the thing is, like you mentioned, the guys with the
wow,
injury
that's
history.
that's crazy to me. That's crazy.
You mentioned the guys with injury history: KJ Jefferson, Jalen Daniels. I think I have. Thing
What's the
is like,
pick? What's the pick? See that? See, I take Garrett Green. It's like,
and now
oh,
you,
there's no question marks there. And then now you're left with the tough decision of trying to shift through the rest of that tier one. Because I feel like
I
there's
mean,
like six guys in tier one for me. Like there are some really good quarterbacks in the Big 12.
yeah, oh yeah, but I mean, everything in me wants to take Avery Johnson, but I cannot take a guy who has under 500 career passing yards, and
New
his
offensive
stats. Yeah,
coordinator.
new offensive corner, and by the way, his stats, like they're really good, and he's a really really good player, and I'm super high on him. But like he had 5 rushing touchdowns in one game, so like, and I'm not
Yeah.
a guy like to take that like you take that out, and it's like he was not like that impressive, albeit a true freshman in a reserve role. Like, yeah, very impressed with him. I'm gonna go Shador Sanders just because I
Okay.
do
Yeah.
think the upside is there. Like, and you want to talk about like um game script, positive game script for your quarterbacks, it's gonna be
Yeah.
Shador
Oh,
Sanders. And yes, I have no doubt about it that there's gonna be a push for him to go win the Heisman. I mean, he had 3,000 yards last year, right? 27 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, 4 touchdowns on the ground. I mean, he had negative 77 rushing yards, which was not ideal for you as a fantasy owner. But the reality is, like, they played a gauntlet of a schedule, and while it's not the easiest this year, I do think it's little bit easier. And he shredded people until he didn't, until the end of October, and then he kind of got hurt. But still, I mean, you're putting up 250 yards per game, 300 yards per game. You can live with that, absolutely. So Shador Sanders
yeah.
is my pick there.
Can I be honest though? Like, I have Garrett Green ranked ahead of Shador Sanders, but I almost took Shador Sanders because I thought that you might take him here, but and I didn't think you were going to take Garrett Green, but I was like, I just couldn't risk it. So
You
I
gotta
do
get your
think that
guy.
I think that's the right pick. He's very
Yeah.
good. Like I have my 1 through 5 are all interchangeable to me, which is
Yeah. I mean,
kind of wild.
yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that leaves you with the CUSA, or sorry, you
With
with
the
the
SEC.
SEC. Does it go back to the well?
Oh man. I
See,
mean,
this is a one where this is a conference I think you can take a shot in. You know,
I know.
I don't think
That's what
I
I'm
will be.
going to do. That's what I'm going to do here. Um,
I know what you're gonna do.
no, I'm gonna take who I think is actually going to potentially win the Heisman. I'm gonna go Carson Beck. Carson Beck's gonna put up godly
Damn.
numbers, I think, and like I mean his receiving core is nasty. I think he's so good. And I think like there was a real push. Yeah. Give me Carson. I tried to talk myself out of it at the last second because I was like maybe I can get him in the wild card, but everything I thought of just my team needs to be with Carson Beck, right? So
Yeah, that
that'll be the
was
play.
I had him as my number one. I have a. I'll share with you. Who I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna take Jackson Dart. Okay, but I have a star next to Jalen Milroe because like if
Yep.
you want to talk about taking shots and like the upside there, it's not and people, and I don't disagree with people. I do think Jalen Milroe will be the starting quarterback, but there isn't a guarantee that this system will work for him. I know it worked for Michael Penix, okay, but he's a very different type of player. Like, so for me, it's like, let's see this thing play out. But the upside there uh, is actually potentially huge in that. But I'm going to take Jackson Dart because of just unreal, ungodly talent that we're seeing around them. You saw huge improvements last year from years before, which is a great indicator, right? If you're like, hey, if you're going to see improvements from year 2 to year 3, sign me up for year 4, right? So he was a top 20 quarterback in fantasy points, over 300 fantasy points, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 391 yards on the ground, 8 touchdowns. I mean, this guy's this dude. So not that I'm the biggest Lane Kiffin fan, but like if Lane Kiffin is coaching Jackson Dart is throwing to Trey Harris, sign me up. I'm all over it. And also no Quinshon Judkins. Not that that could hurt in some ways, right? But I think you're gonna be less kind of ground dependent, which you saw last year. Like Quinshon Judkins was pretty banged up, and you
Yeah.
saw Jackson Dart kind of explode. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. You know, you're gonna have Bentley and Diggs right in the backfield there, but yeah, feed me Jackson Dart there. So he was my number two guy. So you took Carson Beck from me though.
Yeah, they also got Rashad Amos. Did Rashad Amos? Did he end up at Ole Miss, or is
Yep, yep, yep,
that how
yep.
that worked? And then Henry Parrish, I think, coming over from Miami. Uh,
That's a nutty running back room.
yeah. So
Is Logan
that's why
Diggs? Did I get that right? Is Logan Diggs there?
Diggs is on that team for sure. So it's Bentley. But I think Bentley
Wow.
did Bentley get hurt? I thought I saw something. I don't want to spread rumors at
Yeah,
all, but
maybe.
regardless, the only thing that scared me is Dart. I mean, I feel like I don't know. Every time I watch him, I feel like he just gets up slowly, and I'm like, he's gonna get hurt. He's gonna get hurt. And so my subconscious opinion on Dart is that he's fragile, even though he's not. He's been pretty durable throughout his career. He's a very tough kid. So it's not fair to add on him. But I do think they're gonna run the ball very, very well. And that's gonna help him for sure, get him easier play action pass. But I do think um it might hurt his fantasy production. And also like Carson Beck, there was a point in season last year, like for 8 games straight in the middle of their season. I mean, he was going 300 plus every game
Yeah,
against like their best competition. And I was like, holy cow. I mean, and that's when Bowers and McConkey were in and out of the lineup. Like it was incredible. And I think it's gonna be like, remember when Stetson Bennett kind of just took over at times a couple years ago? Like it's gonna be like
yeah,
that, where it's like you don't think he can, but he can. And I think Beck could have a monster year. And I will tell you,
yeah.
by the way, not to give away my hand, but Dart was my fourth quarterback
Really?
on in the SEC.
Wow. Okay.
So that's not even who I was deciding between. Glad I guess so. I'm glad I took
That's
Beck, so I
that's
could get my guy in the
crazy.
wild card.
Cause like that's my tier one is Beck and Dart, and then after that I have high upside guys,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
not in this. Yeah, there's a lot of high ups. There's a ton of high upside in the SEC, which is why that's a fun conference. I guess it's my turn to pick in the Sun Belt. Given to me. We're back. Feed the well. Jalen Rayner, come to me
Damn it.
now. We wrote him all
All I
last
can do
year.
is clap. All I can do is clap.
We wrote him all last year. Jalen Rayner is a dog. If you don't know who he is, plays for Arkansas State. He's an absolute weapon on the ground, in the air. He started as a true freshman last year, and he was like the third string quarterback going into the season. And by game two, he was taking over and just blew up single handedly. It saved Butch Jones probably his job. Got them to a bowl game. Sure, they lost to none other than Rocky Lombardi, right? I mean, what are you gonna do? You run into Rocky Lombardi in the bowl game? What are you supposed to do? Win? You know, come on. But the Arkansas State team retains a lot on offense. They also add Malik Hornsby as well. So look, Jalen Raynier's gonna be throwing to some dudes, man. And you also got Jacquez Cross in the backfield there, running back, who I like a little bit. That defense, you lose your best player in the secondary. So we'll see if their defense is gonna have some holes in it, and you're gonna have to be playing catch up, and you're gonna have to be playing high tempo like they do. Give me Jalen Raynor. For the record though, I like a lot of quarterbacks in the Sun Belt. So
Yeah. Rayner would have been my pick just because I just trust him. I just trust him. I just know he's gonna produce there. And he's got a lot of talent coming back. All the reasons you mentioned. I'm gonna go with Jordan McLeod from Texas State. Now, formerly of James Madison, right? And then before that, he was at Arizona. Before that, he was at USF. So like, he's been around, right? And the reason why it's so enticing is not only did he have 3,600 yards passing last year and 35 touchdowns, but he's teaming up with GJ Kinney in that offense. And
yeah,
I
I
mean, what
love
he
that.
did kind of reuniting TJ Finley, I thought Jordan McLeod would have a lot of options as a former Power Five quarterback and a guy that lit up and took JMU to its like huge heights, right? I thought he'd have a lot of options, and I'm sure he did, but I think GJ Kinney was able to convince him, like, hey, look at what we've done, look who I am. Here's what it's gonna be for you. And obviously you have Ismail Mahdi, who's just a stud, who's the best kept secret probably in the Sun Belt. As in terms of a running back, he is unbelievable. So he'll take up some production for sure. But the reality is, I mean, Finley had over 400 passing attempts, 3,400 yards, 24 touchdowns. I think I'm feeling pretty good about Jordan McLeod here, and a guy I could not pass up on in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's a stud. I was pumped. I thought he was gonna go to Auburn. Like that's kind of like the
Perfect fit, bro.
yeah,
Perfect
I know.
fit.
That's like the level of talent that I think Jordan McLeod has. I think he's a really good football player. And just when you put the rest of that talent around him and put him in that system, it's just a recipe. Like he could have a better season than Jalen Rayner, right? Like he could. But I did have Jalen Rayner as my number one. Jordan McLeod was my clear number two. In fact, that's my tier one, right? And then after that, I think you can go a number of different directions. Whether you want to go Goose Crowder. No, I'm just kidding. But I fucking love that guy. So watch out in the wild card rounds.
Real quick,
Anyways,
real quick, I do
what?
want to mention I cannot do a Texas State passing video without talking about Joey Obert or Holbert. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
exactly how to say it, but he's a stud for you guys down there in Texas.
yeah. He is a stud. Yeah, dude. They had good receiving core last year. Although, what's his name went to Baylor? Whatever. I don't care. I'm sure someone in the comments will figure out the
Ashton
name.
Hawkins?
Ashton Hawkins. That's it. That's who it is. He went to Baylor, right?
I think so.
So, yeah. And if he didn't, I'm sure someone in the comments will be happy to correct me. So, anyways, that leaves you with the Mountain West here. Very interesting conference, if you ask
Very
me. I
interesting.
think you and I might think very differently in this conference. Although I
And
think
you
we
were
might have the same
really
number one.
high. Talking off here, you were really high in the Mountain West. And now, obviously, like in terms of quarterback for fantasy wise, and now we're always high in the Mountain West. We love our compatriots out in the West. Um, I'm gonna go Braden Fowler,
That's a
Nicolosi
great pick. That is a
from
fantastic pick.
Colorado State. What he did, I mean, obviously he burst onto the scene against Colorado in week 2. You know, he came in 367 yards. Now I get he was thrown against air for sure, but the rest of the year he was still putting up monster numbers. 22 touchdowns. Yes, he had 16 interceptions, but that comes with the inexperience. And I trust Jay Norvell to get the best out of him. He was a freshman last year as a redshirt sophomore. A red shirt sophomore. By the way, don't forget to like and subscribe. Braden Fowler Nicolosi, I think, is the guy. I think he'll be the 1-1 or the QB1 in the Mountain West.
Yeah, that's not crazy. And then I have him as my number two guy, but my top three are kind of all in the same tier, believe it or not.
Okay, okay.
If you believe it or not. But I'm not gonna get crazy here because I think Braden Fowler, Nicolosi, like he could freaking go off, right? So I'm just gonna play keep up with you right here, and I'm just gonna take Mikey Keene. I think that's a safe pick.
Damn it.
Uh, that's just a safe pick. No more a Logan Feifel or
Logan
God, what's
Five.
Logan Fife over there sneaking in the background there. Yeah, dude, Mikey Keene's a good quarterback, dude. He's a good quarterback. He's a good
I
quarterback at
mean,
UCF. He was a good quarterback last year. I had him on some of my fantasy teams last year. I thought he did very fine. You know, if you don't know, if you don't play college football, college fantasy football enough to like you have multiple quarterbacks. That's what it is. So it's not like Mikey Keene was like it's not like I botched it enough to where like Mikey Keene was like had to be my starting quarterback, like the guy, but he was really good as like a number two, number three quarterback guy. So I had zero issues starting him. So I'll take that. I do think Braden Fowler has higher upside though, believe it or not. So I respect that pick. So at some point you got to take shots, right? And not that he's even a shot, right? Because you
he
get
was a monster last year.
yeah, you get Torrey Horton back. I mean, dude. Yeah, Torrey Horton is so good. Yeah, that's gonna be crazy when we do the wide receiver fantasy drafts. That worked out pretty well for me last year when I took him. So yeah, I guess that leaves me with the American. I'm gonna make it simple. Let's go Byron Brown.
Damn
Uh,
it.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how
That's a good
you
pick.
can
That's
mess
a good
this
pick.
up. You there's a number
You,
two guy,
yeah, yeah.
and
I
there,
don't think it's crazy. Yeah, you go.
yeah, I don't think it's not the craziest thing to take someone over Byron Brown, but come on, right? And the reason why you would is schedule, right? And Byron Brown, he plays Alabama, which is a big deal. Okay, that's like a game where you can kind of count on like him not performing at his peak level. Whereas like some of these other guys do not have as tough of schedules. However, the number two guy, on my list at least, plays Florida State. So when you
And
look at
Troy.
it, and Troy, okay, so we're on the same page here. Yeah, so I'm happy with Byron Brown. I'll take the L against Alabama for his upside in the 11 other games.
I mean, as a freshman, he came in 3,200 yards. He was rushing the ball. I mean, he he was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. Yeah, that's the right pick. Obviously, you saw my reaction. I'm gonna go Seth Hennigan. I'm just not gonna mess it up. I mean, if you tell me you're gonna get a guy that's gonna have over 3,500 yards and over 30 touchdowns, fine. That literally sign me up. I know he's got a good amount of interceptions, but I'm not too worried about that at the end of the day. He did have some rushing production, especially in the red zone, which was awesome to see. And yes, you mentioned the schedule. They got two tough games, obviously Florida State and Troy, but I do think I don't think it's crazy that Memphis can go in Florida State and put some points on the board early in the season when they're replacing a lot of key players. And same with Troy. Troy as well. I mean, you're switching over to Jared Parker. Obviously, gonna miss John Summerall over to Tulane and joining the American Conference. And what Memphis does in conference is they light everybody up. And I do think there are not a lot of elite defenses in the American. So I think obviously Byron Brown has benefits of that, but I do think Seth Hennigan, in terms of overall fantasy wise, like those are two guys that are going to be, I think, pretty sought after in the college football fantasy world.
Yeah, I agree with you. Seth Hennigan was my number two, and I think that's the tier one, right? And then I think
Well,
after that, there's some. I mean, if you want to take a wild card, there are some guys. I would point to one specific guy that you could take a shot on in the AAC, given the system that he's running over
yeah,
there.
that's just that. Yep.
So let's move on to the MAC. You're gonna get the guy in the MAC, the singular good quarterback in the MAC. You're gonna get him.
I hope that we're talking about the same person, but I'm gonna go Tucker Gleason.
What? No,
Did
no,
I
that is.
forget? Did I completely forget somebody?
Yeah, I think
Because
you
I
did.
tried to go up and down the Mac, and I just think he's a lot safer than everybody else.
Okay, well, so let me run through some of the other quarterbacks that you were considering.
Cole Snyder, but not really. DJ Irons is a high upside guy.
No, DJ
Tommy
Irons, he's gone.
Ulatowski.
DJ Irons is
Oh, he's
gone.
gone. That's why I could. That's
Yeah,
right. I took him off. Yeah. And then I wanted Burt Emanuel, but he's terrible and he just does not play. So it's
the
like
upside though.
the upside's massive there. Um,
I
but
think
yeah,
you're
Tucker
forgetting a huge
Gleason,
guy. I think he made a big mistake.
Rocky Lombard is gone. Who else is there? But okay, well, let me give Tucker Gleason his
All
props
right,
here. So,
I'll tell you he's my number four guy, so you're not crazy.
I mean, he wasn't elite in the bowl game. Right? He came against Wyoming and obviously, 184 yards, not ideal, but he did come in and play really, really well in two reserve games prior to that, and also the year before as well as MAC Offensive Player of the Week, subbing in for an injured Daquan Finn, and also by the way, like just talent on Toledo, year in and year out is just better than everything else in the MAC. So I think it's going to be just the ease of play is going to be easier for him, and I don't think it's crazy to like just take a safe bet unless I completely miss somebody. But Tucker Gleason, 6'3", 240, sign me up.
All right, I'm gonna give you 7 more seconds to think of the guy that I think you missed gigantically.
Wait, wait, let me pull up the standings real quick.
All right, I'll give you 20 seconds to figure it out. I
All
look
right.
in the
The
I don't think he's
Mid-American, it's
here's
okay, but I'm not taking Brett Gabber. I'm not.
why
They didn't throw the ball much.
why wouldn't you take Brett Gabbard? Well,
You tell
Tucker
me.
Gleason, like dude, Tucker Gleason was not very good in his start when I saw him play. Like here's the thing, I think Brett Gabbert is going to give you a higher floor than Tucker Gleason.
I
You
He had
disagree with that?
1,600 yards. Although I know
He got hurt. He got hurt.
yeah, but he was averaging under 200 yards per game before that.
Look, I think Brett Gabbert is a good quarterback. Okay, but I'm not going to be taking him, believe it or not. Here's what I'm going to
Oh,
do. This is one of those ones where I'm going to take a shot because I'm not going to waste a wild card on Burt Emanuel Jr., but I will waste my shot On this one right here, I'm gonna take Bert Emanuel Jr. for the upside. I'm gonna take him for the upside, dude.
He is electrifying.
Electrifying, dude. And in the MAC, you know what electrifying gets you on Tuesday nights? Lots of yards. Okay, lots and lots of yards. Are they gonna be passing yards? Maybe not. Maybe not.
Doesn't matter though.
Feed me Bert Emanuel Jr. As see, this is what we were talking about, like the MAC quarterbacks, just like not being that good this year. I love that we're taking Burt Emanuel and Tucker Gleason. That just makes me so happy. That
Well,
just
I mean,
makes me so happy.
Jim McElwain is, yeah, he's got to love. There's no Bert Emanuel, man. It was, I don't know. I mean, he is uber impressive when he plays. He's gonna be a guy, by the way, like in Dynasty, the new NCAA games comes out, and if you can use the transfer portal, I'm plucking Bert Emanuel from Central Michigan, and I'm plugging him right into my starting lineup because he's gonna be a monster for me. And I mean, I think it's a great idea. I mean, in hindsight, I didn't quite realize that I could just not dump 3 picks, but like there's gonna be upside picks, and I don't have to hit on all 13.
Yeah.
But I do think like shit hits the fan with injuries and whatnot. Tucker Gleason is going to be a guy I can live with, but I guess Bert Emanuel, that makes sense. That's a nice pick for you. I guess.
Yeah. Why am I gonna waste a pick on freaking Brett Gabbert or Cole Snyder or Tucker Gleason? Like when I can have the gigantic upside that is Burt Emanuel, you know? And
He's
Brett, the reason
also
why
a
you also
redshirt
want to take
sophomore.
he is also a red shirt sophomore. Brett Gabbert, also his schedule is brutal, right? He plays Northwestern, Cincinnati, Notre Dame as his out of conference. That's
Yeah.
pretty brutal. So while I do think Brett Gabbert is a better quarterback than Tucker Gleason, I'm gonna go with Burt Emanuel Jr. here. So for some reason, I had a sneaking suspicion that you're gonna go. I thought you were gonna go Brett Gabbert, and I was just gonna be okay picking second because I was like gonna take Burt Emanuel Jr. anyways, and yeah, so that's all good
It's not
there.
crazy.
It's not crazy. Now we go to the CUSA, and I love that I'm getting Caden Salter here. Love that I'm getting Caden Salter. Let me just take him and not even think about it. There's no debate. He's the best quarterback in this conference. He lit it up last year. He does it on the ground, in the air. It's in a fantastic system over there with Jamie Chadwell. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do other than take Caden Salter first?
Yeah. No, I think that's
I
pretty
think
awesome.
you have an interesting decision here, and I think I know who you're going to pick, but I think it's going to be a mistake.
I mean, I'm not taking Jonathan Murphy. With all due respect, we're very excited Kennesaw State is coming into the FBS. It's going to be awesome in the CUSA, but in a similar vein of upside pick. And I don't even know if he's going to be the starter at
Oh,
Western Kentucky.
oh,
I'm going to take TJ Finley. I mean, Caden Veldkamp was the star of the bowl season when he had 400 freaking yards after coming back 20-0. But I do think like he's a guy's young kid. I do think that staff can be like, listen, we're bringing in TJ Finley. Look what he did in the Sun Belt. Look what he's done in the SEC, which is not much. But I think Finley can come and just give a bridge for a year. And by the way, Western Kentucky quarterbacks have had success putting up good numbers in this offense. I know it's a new offensive coordinator and all these things back when, Bailey Zapp and all those guys were doing it. But regardless, I think there's some upside there with Finley. If you're missing out on Salter, I'm going to go TJ Finley because I cannot take anybody. I don't trust a single person on that Rich Rodriguez team, Jacksonville State. I can't do that. So I don't, to me, I think that's kind of where I'm going to end up at.
yeah. So I don't hate that, right? Caden Veldkamp scares me, right? But at the same time, I mean, Tyson Helton didn't like him enough, right, to start his nephew over him like the entire season. And what's his name? The other quarterback there. Caden Veldkamp was like they were trying to convert him to tight end, and then he shows
Yeah.
up in the bowl game. So you can't be putting all your stock in these bowl games, right? TJ Finley has production at this level.
At a higher
I would think that he's the starter, but like Caden Veldkamp scares me. So I didn't even have him as my number two, believe it or not. So uh
Would you like to say your number two? I'm not going to pick him in the wild card unless you want him in the wild card.
uh I'll give you a hint that the team names with Schmiddle, Schmenessy, Schmape.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, good for you. I wasn't gonna pull a trigger on that.
No,
I think the
I'm not.
Finley upside is higher.
I'm not gonna pull the trigger either. I got Caden Salter. I got my guy. But
Yeah,
if you had been picking first in CSA, I would have taken Schmickless Schmatiato. But anyways, uh, that means we're moving on to the wild card. And actually, this is a huge pick because you could pick anyone you want.
and
You could,
dude, I genuinely, it's scary. And do I go with upside here, or do I pick and be like, I've gone pretty conservative all throughout. I mean, maybe the Shador Sanders, the injury concerns could scare you. Um, Karen Jones runs a lot. I guess he could get hurt. Man, do I want to go? The hard part is like which conference, and that's also like who do you have high on your board? Who can I get with the second pick, the third
yeah, and
pick?
that's my thing. I got a guy that I'm like locked in on taking a huge shot on him, but like I know you're not gonna pick him because you know the gonads.
Yeah, you don't know that. Do I go the G5 well? I'm really thinking the G5 well,
Oh,
but I think that'll be one of my later picks, I think.
okay.
Um, I'm sorry I'm stalling so much. I'm got a lot going on here. You know what? Give me Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU.
Wow. Okay. So he was your number two in the SEC then.
He was my number 2 in the SEC.
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah, that wide receiver core is loaded.
it's loaded and the O line is so good,
Yeah,
and they
it's
love
so
him
good.
so much. And I think there's a real chance that, and not that they go back to back with Heisman's, but he doesn't have the rushing upside. But I think he could do some monster things for that LSU offense.
I agree 100%. I think he is a stud. Yeah, I had him ranked as my number five, but like that's different than upside, right? Like
Yeah.
you're late in this. You've kind of played it kind of chalk so far. If I'm looking at my rankings, right? Like, um, I think it's about time you're taking a shot like that, and that's not even a shot to some people, you know. Like
Yeah.
that's
I don't think it is, and that's why I'm like one more, but
yeah,
one more for feel pretty good about.
yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna go with Haynes King.
Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Damn it!
Yeah, so you left the
That's my
door open
guy.
there. You left the door open there, and I'm gonna take him. I mean, he was fantastic last year, and
Yeah.
uh, sure he's got a little bit tougher schedule than some of the other quarterbacks in the ACC, but he was a top 10 fantasy quarterback last year. What do you want from him? He's got his receivers back. His offensive line's not terrible, right?
No.
Feed me.
Damn it. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Moving on to our second wild card. We get four, by the way.
Okay.
Um, and I think I've got one more in Power Five. No, that would have been Haynes King. No, it's way too early to take this guy because I know you're not thinking about him. That's
I
gonna be
might
my
be
last
thinking.
pick.
I took Bert
That's gonna be
Emanuel, so it's not, nothing is off the board here.
um speaking of bowl game heroes, give me Miller Moss.
Okay, I like that pick. I like that.
I mean, a little bit scary because they brought in, you know, uh
Jaden Alba.
Maeva, but I think it's gonna Moss is I think is gonna have that. Um I'm not too worried about that.
Okay. Uh, wow.
Don't take him. I need him. I need him with this pick.
I don't know what to do here, dude. Because like I'm looking at the Big 12 and I'm like, wow, there's so many quarterbacks that I could be taking in the Big 12, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and then I'm looking around. Oh, this is stupid. I think this is I don't want to miss out on him because I think he can pop off this year again. Because let's be real, he was good last year. This is kind of crazy. I'm gonna go with Braden Shager from Hawaii.
Yeah, that's a nice one. That's a nice one.
Yeah, and I don't think you were gonna pick him right away, but I'm just gonna take him so I don't have to think about it later. Because I
No,
think
that's
like
a really
I think you're gonna go Power Five, but I have some guys in the Power Five that are in the same tier,
yeah.
and I think Braden Shager's dude. His schedule. Look at the schedule, dude, for Hawaii. Okay, you get UCLA at home, a D'Anton Lindless UCLA at home. You get Boise State at home, right? Your road games, sure, Fresno State, Utah State, Washington State, San Diego State, Sam Houston. That's not a very gauntlet-ish road schedule, if you ask me. Fresno State, who struggled defensively, Washington State, who struggled defensively. I, this schedule is very favorable, right? And the best defense that they're going to play is UCLA or maybe Boise State. I mean, this is off the top of the dome, right? I don't have my previews in front of me right now, but that's off. Like you get both of them at home. They have to travel to Hawaii. A lot of the same receivers are still there, dude. Like it's not bad. Timmy Chang's kind of got something there on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm all about it, dude. I'm all about it. I'm all right with taking Braden Shager here.
No, I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Um, I'm gonna go back to the G5 well, and I want to take this dude, but let me go. Let me
Oh
go.
wait, I
Joey
think
Aguilar.
Joey Aguilar. Okay, yeah.
Joey Aguilar, App State.
I'll say that he was my number
Monster
three.
numbers last year.
He was my number
Yep,
three in the Sun Belt, so that's a good pick.
3,700 yards, 33 touchdowns. So, I mean, yeah, as a junior, he gets. And by the way, that was, I believe, his first year starting. So only gonna get better for that. So I love that. Or starting in the FBS.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, it's a pretty favorable schedule. Oh, if I'm looking at it. Oh, just kidding. Actually, yeah, it's not great because you get Liberty. Oh, the Liberty defense stinks.
Yeah, I
Clemson,
think you're gonna get in a shootout with them.
Clemson, James
But like,
Madison, you get at home, right?
yeah,
East Carolina is your other out of conference game.
who's
It's not a bad schedule.
turnstile.
It's, I always like that analogy.
Hmm.
Anyways, yeah, it's not a bad pick at all. If I was to
By
go
the
with another
way,
Sunbelt guy, I would have taken Joey Aguilar.
yeah, and I wanted to take Ethan Vasco. That was the guy I was debating between, just because I love
I know
Ethan
you were.
Vasco.
I know you were. I know you were. But I'm not touching him. So you've taken one, two, wait, one, two, three. You still have one more wild card there. Probably shouldn't have shown your cards there.
That's all right. I've got
Uh,
mine. It's locked and loaded. Was my always my last pick.
uh, here's what I'm gonna do. Let me check the schedule real quick because I'm pretty sure it's a good schedule, but I'm like, I don't want to put myself in a bind here where I end up just wasting a pick. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Not the worst schedule of all time. And you get Wyoming at home. I'm gonna regret this. I'm gonna regret this. Or I'm not. Here's what I'm gonna do. Give me Chandler Morris. North Texas.
No way!
Let's
No
go.
way!
Let's
No
go.
way! There's
Let's
no way.
let's go. Give me him in that Eric Morris system. Yeah, if Chandler Rogers can have a field day in the system, Cam Ward's done well in that system. I gotta believe that Chandler Morris can do something, right? Something. So that's a high upside pick right there. And I think the schedule is pretty favorable. And I said Wyoming is scary, but you're getting him at home. You get Wyoming at
Dude,
home.
when you said reasonable schedule, Wyoming at home, my heart dropped. I was like, you're fucking thinking about Chandler Morris. By the way, Chandler Morris, no relation to Eric Morris, who's the head coach. It's actually
Correct.
Chad Morris, you SMU and Arkansas fans.
Correct.
You can remember him. SMU fans a little bit more fondly than Arkansas fans. But nonetheless, Chandler Morris, by the way, like has legit P4 talent, like power four, top power five talent, whatever you want to call it. And it just hasn't worked out. Injuries, whatnot has happened. He's a fresh start at North Texas. That's
Yeah,
bro. That was gonna be it.
Chandler Rogers was 1 point away from being a top 20 quarterback in fantasy last year. That's Chandler
Yeah.
freaking Rogers.
Dude,
So
South Carolina, USC, Georgia, GJ Kinney, and Texas State were all interested, but he wanted to go back to Dallas. I think he's from Dallas.
yep.
Which again,
which makes
Not
sense why
bad.
I went to TCU. Yeah.
And North Texas there. So yeah, that's a fantastic pick. I cannot say anything bad about it. Now I'm kind of in shambles. Now I'm literally in shambles.
Wow. Dang. And this is your last pick. So
Yeah, this is my
what?
last pick.
So
I mean, I could go two different ways here. I could go safe or I could go high upside. And I guess I'll let the since I don't have any more picks, I'll let you guys know who I'm thinking about. It's Jacob Zeno or it's Jalen Daniels. Jacob Zeno from UAB and Jalen Daniels from Kansas. Obviously, the upside with Daniels is out of this world. Okay. But again, that back injury is scary as shit. Scary as shit. And I don't want to just throw away a pick, but also like you might end up throwing away anyways because he might not even play for you, like your 13th pick. Um, yeah, damn it. Or I could go Nico and just say fuck it. Because he was actually my third quarterback in the SEC, by the way.
really, wow, I'm way down relative to you.
Because okay, it's because as a wild card pick, he would be like he's up there. Like he was not going to be my first SEC pick, but I'm not going to take like um Taylor Green or what. But regardless, I'm just going to take. Okay, let's root for UAB and Jacob Zeno. Why not? I mean, he had 3,100 yards last year, 20
I had him on
touchdowns.
I had him on my fantasy team last year. You're solid.
Yeah, I mean, he's old guy. I think he's got one more year left in him.
Wow,
And
did we just really take 4 American quarterbacks? That's crazy.
I would have taken EJ Warner if we knew. If we
If we
knew.
knew he's gonna start over AJ Padgett, that's not
All
crazy.
right. Well, why not?
Hmm.
Because it's Trent Dilfer that's at UAB, and I mean he's good with quarterbacks apparently. So maybe one more year with Zeno can get him going. Plus, I do think like the American is a conference that just a lot of teams don't play defense, and it just you can put up monster numbers in that conference. So I think it's pretty friendly.
All right. Wow. All right. Well, I'll tell you what I'm thinking about here. I'm thinking about Preston Stone, but then I think about the Malachi. Shoot, what's his name?
Malachi
What?
Nelson from Boise
No,
State.
no, no, no. Washington. Tanner Mordecai. Sorry, Tanner Mordecai. Think about that transfer from uh G5 to P5, right? And what that's going to look like. However, SMU's schedule for year one in Power Five is not that bad for a Power Five team. Are we looking at SMU as a true Power Five team though right now? I think you kind of can. Like, I think they are talented enough to compete right away.
Yeah.
So I'm not super worried about that. I do worry about Florida State at home. I do worry about Louisville on the road. Um, your out of conference is not that bad. I mean, BYU, TCU's pretty decent draw, if you ask me. And then Nevada, which you're gonna blow the friggin' doors off of them. So
I
I'm
w-
thinking about Preston Stone. Okay.
I will
I'm
say if you look
also
at Preston Stone, like in his like he beat up on some bad teams. And not I'm
yes.
not an anti Preston Stone guy, but in terms of his like stats and whether it was coasting, like he was very efficient, when he was playing these other teams. But I mean, you look at like Navy, Tulsa, Temple, is that Prairie View? I don't know, Prairie Valley. Yeah, Prairie View A&M. I mean, some
I mean, they
teams
were
that he
up
could
they were up like 40 on Navy and they still left him in the game. Like,
yeah, which but
yeah,
also
which got
like
him hurt.
those yards help you. So it doesn't matter, but he's not gonna have that many cupcakes, in with
Yeah.
this new schedule.
So then Jalen Daniels is on my radar,
Yeah.
for sure. And then Jalen Monroe. And then I'll give you one more who's like, I would say on the in the back of my mind, I'm looking at Dylan Morris, James Madison. That's just back of the mind stuff though. But I so want to take Goose Crowder though so bad just because his name's Goose from Troy. Um,
Would you
he's
think
actually a
about
good.
Aiden Childs at all? Would you think about Aiden Childs?
No,
Okay.
no. I have Dylan Rayola ahead of him. Yeah,
Okay,
look
we
at
can
me
talk
like
about
that.
that off air, but that's kind
You
of
can
crazy.
you can look at me like that. Why? Why is that crazy? Supporting cast? That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Well, you think Aiden Childs has a decent supporting cast?
I think it's better than some people give credit to, and I think he's also that talented enough to lift himself. Dude. By the way, doing all these things real quick before you make your pick just makes me want to play NCAA 25 so freaking badly, so I can play with all
Yeah.
these guys, and I can like go through a dynasty or Road to Glory and like see all these guys. Maybe the Ultimate Team's actually good, and like you'll
Really?
you'll try that
Road to
out.
Glory? Are you actually gonna play Road to Glory?
No, I'm not. Not that you can't play in high school, and plus like I didn't. Road to Glory will be like, okay, it's February, okay, and I'm missing college football. Maybe I'll be a Road to Glory player, but we're up in Dynasty and maybe Ultimate Team if it's good. A lot of online play, hopping in
Yeah.
the chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Giving people the business. Uh, so here's my thing though. It's like I feel like I already took my shots, but look, I think I gotta go Jalen Daniels, dude. I think I'm gonna do it. I'm taking Jalen Daniels with my last pick. Um, I think he's just the best quarterback available, and like who cares? I mean, obviously you should care if you're drafting in actual fantasy, but like for us, it's like it's best ball, right? So best ball,
Yeah.
it's a bit of a different strategy than your standard, fantasy football. So yeah, so to wrap that up, CD's team, you have, let's see, you took Kyron Drones, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders, Carson Beck, then let's see, we went to
Jordan
the
McLeod.
Jordan McLeod, then Seth Hennigan, then Braden Fowler. No, sorry, you took Braden Fowler, and then you took Seth Hennigan, then you took Tucker
Tucker.
Gleason, Tucker Gleason, then TJ Finley. And then your wild cards went in the order of Garrett Nussmeyer. Oh, sorry, Miller Moss, Garrett
No,
Nussmeyer,
Nussmeyer was one. Moss was two.
Joey Aguilar, and then Jacob Zeno.
Not bad. I mean, some regrets are not taking Chandler Morris with my third wild card pick because I cannot believe he was on your radar, and
Oh yeah,
which is wild. And I mean, maybe the Tucker Gleason one I'm gonna regret because he's just gonna sit at the bottom of my bench anyways. But we'll see. Who
that's what the
knows?
Mac is though. Who knows, man? Random Tuesday
Every
nights.
week, every week.
Every week. Well, not every week, but you get the point. Uh, so then my team ended up being Cam Ward, Will Howard, Garrett Green, which, everyone in the comments, sure, give me slack. Just wait when he's accepting his Heisman Trophy award in December. uh, just kidding, but maybe. And then I took Jackson Dart, and then we went over to the Sun Belt. I took Jalen Rayner, and then in the American, I took Byron Brown, and then in the Mountain West, I took Mikey Keene, then Byron Brown, then Burt Emanuel Jr. Sneaky, sneaky. And then took Caden Salter for my last conference pick. And then in my wild card picks, I went Haynes King, uh, Braden Shager, Chandler Morris, then Jalen Daniels. I think my team is awesome. I freaking love my team.
Yeah. By the way, Burt Emanuel Sr., NFL legend, 8-year vet, I think for the Bucks. So guy's gonna
It- guy's gonna guy's gonna pound the rock as a quarterback. I'll take it.
absolutely.
So hey, mid-season, say he switches his position to running back. Are we counting it?
I
You
listen,
have
I'm
to.
not gonna deny it, but I do like I'm not gonna deny it, but there's no way he's gonna score for you. Although if he's putting up, he could like you watch him play, like anytime he touches the ball, it could be a touchdown. It could literally be a touchdown.
Yeah.
Except when he's dropping back to pass. Except when he goes like
Hey,
this.
when his hands separate, sorry for people listening on Spotify. You can't see the awesome visual that we're giving.
Yeah. And sorry to our Mac listeners too, because we love the Mac and we're not pooping
I
on the
love the
Mac or
Mac.
Bert Emanuel. But it's been a wild up and down. And you guys know. You in the Mac, you understand the Bert Emanuel sentiment. So I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah. Plus, like, please get better quarterbacks.
I'll say this. Yes, obviously. Every coordinator, every defensive coordinator in the Mac hates him. And I'm sure,
Yeah.
like, because they're terrified of playing against them. And I'd also throw in that his offensive coordinator is probably also terrified of him as well. I'm
Yeah,
spending too much time on Bird Emanuel, but
I know,
that's how
dude.
we're loving this. We're loving this.
All this Mac talk just for Hayden Wolf to be the best quarterback in the Mac next year.
We love man. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us on this year's fantasy football quarterback draft. Yeah, I'm MD. This is CD. As you guys know, look, we love doing this kind of stuff. If you would please hit the like button. If you like the content, like the video, right? That's a simple rule that we have around here. Our subscribers know. Speaking of subscribers, you can be one if you aren't already. Just hit that subscribe button, please. It would help us out so much. We're trying to get to 500 before the season. We think it's a reasonable goal. We have about 2 months to do it. You guys have been absolutely out of this world with the support recently. Thank you guys so much. And I guess happy 1 year to the birth of the redshirt sophomore. How about that? We made it through a year. I think most podcasts fail after 2 episodes. Something like 90% of podcasts fail after 2 episodes. So we've all we've done is just stuck it out and gotten better. So I guess credit to us. I don't know.
Yeah. And credit to you guys too.
Yeah, credit to the supporters, man. So if you guys like this content too, like let us know who you would have taken as well. Like who do we miss? Yeah, I'm sure you're looking at KJ Jefferson, Noah Fafita. You're probably thinking about Jalen Milroe, Brady Cook, Quinn Ewers, Jackson Arnold. I mean, there were a lot of guys we didn't get to. Preston Stone, Hudson Card, truthers out there. uh, but yeah, in all seriousness, thank you guys so much. This is awesome. Hope to catch you in our running back and wide receiver rankings. CD, anything for us on the way out?
No, like Matthew said, like and subscribe. Hope you enjoy the content. Thanks for watching. If you're listening right now, you're amazing. And we thank you so much.
Absolutely. And we'll see y'all in the next one.